Welcome, Steve. Um,
Thank you.
it's
Nice to be here.
yes, it's an honor to have you on the show today. I will try to do a little bio of your background. You're a living legend, an iconic guitarist, a songwriter, and producer, and your journey has in my opinion, reshaped the world of music and guitar. And from your early work with Frank Zappa to your groundbreaking solo albums like Passion and Warfare or The Story of Light, you've consistently combined technical brilliance with deep emotional expression. And what makes your art so powerful goes beyond the notes. It's the spiritual depth you bring to your music. And today, I'd love to explore your relationship with spirituality and meditation, and also how the guitar has become for you a tool to access this dimension of presence and stillness. So, for my first question, uh, can you take us back to the moment where you first became interested in spirituality and meditation? What sparkled this exploration?
Well, I grew up uh, in an Italian American family on Long Island in New York. So I was a good Catholic boy. We had religion in our family, not very heavy. It was more like an obligation. You go to
Mm,
church. And so I would go to church and uh, there was things about church the Catholic Church in the 70s, 60s, 70s. There was things that I liked, the just people coming together looking for support
mm,
you know, uh, and I would read things that Jesus would say or was reputed to say, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, I get that. That's nice." But so much of it was seemed like it was very fear-based
mm,
and like there were analogies, the stories in the Bible at the time when I was a kid just sounded like outlandish fiction, you know. Later on in life, when I started to gravitate more towards spirituality, I saw the deeper meaning in some of the crazy stuff.
mm,
But so I was always a seeker. I remember being like 6 or 7 years old and just thinking, going out on my front lawn and just looking up at the sky and thinking, what's going on here?
mm,
What is going on? Why am I here? What am I? Like, what is this? Why do I have hands? All this stuff. And so there was a little, I had my first existential crisis when I was like six, perhaps.
oh,
But I was always interested in knowing what's going on. And there was a period of time when I was in my early 20s, actually the age 20, 21 and a half, where I went through a very difficult psychological period. I was on the outside, I could act happy and this kind of thing, but there was just like this weird kind of depression going on. And I didn't understand what it was. And when it really reached a peak when I was about 21, and I couldn't understand it because everything was going great in my career. I had a lot of friends, people liked me, uh, but I was just very deeply misaligned. I mean, I'd get these thoughts and all these crazy kinds of thinking, and it really created a deep, deep depression. And you can't explain these things when you're going through like a depression. It's hard to explain, you know. It's hard to understand. So I kept it to myself, but it got real bad. And then finally, I had reached a point where you get so unhappy that you start contemplating oblivion. You know, you
Mm,
just start thinking, well, if I was dead, then I wouldn't have to worry about any of this. You know, this is the kind of when you're trying to escape psychological suffering, you can contemplate suicide. You know, so it's a momentary kind of frame of mind. And but something very interesting happened. This kind of like the recognition of a thought. That's the best way I can explain it. That said to me, well, that's not going to solve anything. It's only going to make things worse. You have to figure this out. So you have to figure it out now in this life, you know. So very interesting things started happening for me after that. And one of them was I received a book in the mail called The Magic in Your Mind by U.S. Anderson, mysteriously. And I didn't really understand what I was reading, but there was things in it that really made sense to me because it was the first time anybody had presented to me something more to who we are
mm,
as to what religion says or anything like that, you know. So I started to recognize that healing yourself is an inside job. And there was some really great stuff that I started to be inspired by in that book. But then I discovered this book. A friend of mine, Bobby Martin, had given it to me called The Complete Illustrated Book of Yoga. Now, this is in 1981. So yoga was a very different thing. It
mm,
wasn't just the exercises, it was a whole mind body approach. You know, it's had to do with particular meditation, uh, dietary, all of these things, just frame of mind. So I really delved into this book and I completely changed my life, my lifestyle. I just changed everything, and I started to find answers. So there was a bookstore down the street called the Bodhi Tree, and the Bodhi
mm,
Tree was like a metaphysical bookstore. They had everything, you know, every kind of book on any kind of religion or cult, everything, spirituality. So I just started absorbing everything. So this started to bring me relief, you know, and I'll say I've never been back to that point. You know, I don't suffer from depression,
mm,
you know, I'm a very happy guy. But I started the deeper spiritual quest at that point. So it's
mm,
like 1981, 82. So then through that, I started to, that's when I was introduced to meditation. And, you know, at the time, you know, meditation was it's a slippery slope. It was a word that it had baggage to it,
mm.
you know, because if you were a meditator, you were like some weird guy that sat around going, and I was, you know, but with meditation, you can learn various techniques on but the final goal, you know, not the final goal, but you know, the goal is to stop the voice in your head,
Mm,
you know, to find the stillness that actually already exists in you. So it's an opportunity to cut through the mental noise. So this is vital
mm,
in people's life. It's necessary. And so through the years, I had experimented with different kinds of meditational techniques. And through that period of my new age studies, I mean, I got really into it. You
mm,
know, it's all of those things that are associated with it, like astral projection, fasting, astrology, pyramids, UFOs, numerology, all of that stuff. I it was a phase and a very valuable one. Everybody has their path
mm,
and nobody's wrong. Everybody's doing just fine. But except if you are trapped in the ego, then everybody else is just wrong, you know? So I was going through this phase of more and more kind of discovery, but it was all metaphysic kind of stuff. It wasn't true spirituality takes the microscope from the outside world, it turns it around to the self. But at face value, that's boring. You don't want to contemplate your own being. You want to know about aliens, you want to know about how can I astral project, so it's that all of that stuff I discovered was helpful for me through a period, but it's a huge deterrent to the true spiritual dimension. So then there was a really intense meditation because I had become inspired by an Eastern philosophy
mm,
that you know had a lot of meditation. So there was like a long period of time, 20 years, where I was meditating 2.5 hours a day. And I still do, not that not that much, but you're always whenever you're never going to be satisfied until you find what you're looking for.
mm,
And I was finding what I was capable of finding, as is anybody at any given time during my path, just like anybody.
mm,
So it wasn't really until I discovered Eckhart Tolle, probably about 20 or so years ago, that um, I started to, for lack of a better term, wake up
mm,
and recognize that there's a little voice in my head that I speak to all day that's completely and utterly full of shit. Okay? You know that voice. It's self-talk in the head. It's stories about the past. Stories about the past that we create our own victim identity from. And we believe it. We believe this little voice in the head that comments on all the things that are going on, and we believe it's right. And this is the human condition, and that's the noise. And we believe in our fears of the future. We believe that we have to be in fear. And if we're not being responsible.
mm,
Imagine that. That's a form of insanity.
mm,
So I started to recognize that this little voice in the head uh, is the ego, and it's wrong every time. So where's the right voice? That's the next question, and that is actually our inherent nature, which is that's the thing that spiritual masters have had a real difficult time trying to explain, and I
mm,
am not qualified to try to explain it, but basically, uh, we have two voices in us, and we are making decisions all day, and we're relying on one of those two voices in every decision we make. Nobody's exempt from this. And one of those voices has its foundation in fear,
mm,
right? And every decision made from that voice, it's the voice of the ego, will always lead to more suffering and dysfunction. And you know that you're listening to that voice if you're interested in even knowing, because most people aren't. Their justifications and defenses keep them securely in hell.
mm,
So that voice shows itself in any decision you make in a state of anger, because anger is just fear, and depression is a form of fear. Every negative emotion, even something like frustration or even
mm,
impatience, something as simple as being impatient is an attack on yourself. You attack yourself. It's a form of fear. That's its father. And when you make a decision out of it, you're always generating more dysfunction and suffering for yourself and others.
mm,
So then there's this other voice that we have in us that everybody knows it, everybody has it. No one was ever born without it.
mm,
And it basically has its foundation in simplicity, friendliness, healing, positive expectation, positive, unique creativity that's unique to you,
mm,
that wants to come out, and love, joy, so, creative solution making. This is that voice.
mm,
But you have to turn to it. That's the thing. Everybody knows what that is. They say, well, no, that person does not have that voice in them. Look at how horrible they are. Look what they've done. No, it's there. You just cover it up with the other voice.
mm,
It's actually the other voice. The voice of the ego is based on illusions. It's illusory thoughts. It's beliefs and mental commentary that are just not that have no true meaning. When you give, everybody gives things the meaning that that thing has for them alone. You look at it, you look into politics, religion, business, family, co-working, a tree, everything, anything you see, you're giving it the meaning it has for you. The meaning is just not right. It's incorrect meaning because it's based on fabricated terminology. So, for
mm,
instance, you can look at like my hand, and you can just say, "Well, I know what that is. It's a hand." And this is a finger, and I can tell you what it's made out of and why we have it and all that stuff. And you can know a lot about a hand,
mm,
but in reality, the human mind will never be able to understand what that is. It'll remain a mystery for eternity. You don't know. You don't really know the meaning of things because they're covered up. The meaning is
mm,
covered up by the meaning you give them. So meditation dissolves the meaning that you give things so that the true meaning could show itself. So this is a very lofty state of mind, and
mm,
I don't claim to, have attained it, but I've touched it, and that's enough to know the truth of it. So
mm,
the choice to make in regard to the voice you choose to listen to is your personal choice, nobody else's. It will never be anybody else's choice, right? I mean, you know that. Can anybody tell you what to choose to think? It's impossible. It'll never happen. Uh, so that other voice that's in you that you don't listen to it all the time out of fear, because fear will always tell you can't be friendly. You'll be taken advantage of. you'll have to forfeit. In order for you to be a nice person, you'll have to forfeit something. That's what the voice tells you. It is so afraid of love. It's the thing we fear the most. So that voice is in you, though. And many times during the day, perhaps, many people choose it.
Mm,
You know you're choosing it because you're feeling good at the time. You feel there's like a form of freedom in it that's unlike any other kind of
mm,
freedom. You know, it's really personal freedom. It's a feeling of joy. And many people touch on it through the day. Many people are in a state of fear. So that voice within you, you can call it what it's called many different things. Your higher self, your conscience. Some people say, "Oh, I've got a bad conscience," you know, whatever. Your your higher self, your practical reasoning, your inspiration, your guidance. Some people call it, well, my guidance. And some people will call it like your Buddha nature
mm,
or your Christ consciousness. Some people will say it's God. But does it matter what you call it? Do you see how insane it is to even consider the voice within you has a name
mm,
and that your name is the correct name? And that if somebody doesn't call it that name, they don't have access to it. This is how fucked up we are. Okay.
yes.
So, so when you, whatever you call it, it doesn't matter. It will not make the decision to turn to it for you. That
Mm,
will always be your decision. And that is the greatest thing that can happen to a human being is to recognize that they have everything they need already.
mm,
You don't need anything more. It was built into you by universal design. You can't separate yourself from it. It's closer to you than your own heartbeat. It's closer to you than your own brain. It's not your body is outside of the voice of reason. This is just obvious. How can you deny it? So it's up
mm,
to the individual only to decide what they want. Do they want more dysfunction and fear, or do they want to? This is what like what Jesus meant when he said, "You turn the other cheek," you know,
mm.
and how perverted that phrase even got. You know, hit me now, hit me again. You know, this it means to turn to your better judgment, and in fact, great spiritual avatars like Jesus, they only listen to that voice, only, no, nothing else. And that was the example. And there's many other examples by different people who have
Mm,
accomplished self control of their mind, control of their choice.
mm,
So this has always intrigued me because I see it. I see the wisdom of it within myself and within others. But it's a heavy lift to recognize there's a voice in your head and it's completely wrong about everything.
mm. The-
And that in order to uh, find peace, you have to find the present moment where your attention, where the only thing that actually is of time is right now. And by meditating, you bring your attention to the now. So, you know, the meditation, there's kind of like I call there's two kinds of meditation. You know, there's of course there's many or whatever, but there's a doing meditation. Like
mm,
if I'm right, if a person is entering a very creative mode and they're really focused and they're in the state of enthusiasm and you know, it's a doing meditation. You're focused. You know, like if a musician is performing and they're completely focused, or even an athlete, when you see these athletes
mm,
when they're in the flow, there's nothing going on in their mind. They're bulletproof present. So this is a doing meditation.
mm,
And this is available to everybody. And the great thing about it is no matter what your job is, no matter how much you complain about, some people may complain about their job in their head. If you just gave it your doing meditation attention, you're not commenting on it in any kind of negative way. You because you have to recognize the hell that you we create for ourselves by stepping back and looking at your own thoughts. For a lot of people throughout the day, their thoughts are caustic. They're complaining about something. They're in fear of something in the future. They have resentments and grievances. All of these things take your power away. Well, they don't take your, but you give your power to them. You give all your power to these things, and that hampers and cripples your ability for your unique creativity to flow
mm,
because you don't have access to it because you can't focus. You become we're sloppy thinkers. We're sloppy focusers. But you can see when people are focusing and doing very creative things, everything they do is a gift to the world, you know? And in a state of egoic voices,
mm,
everything you create adds to the dysfunction of the world.
mm,
So it's so important that we find our that voice and our joy and own it, you know, have faith in it. That's what it's about. It's about having faith in no it's having faith in the fact that you don't know
mm,
and you don't know anything. And there's so much freedom in that. And when you realize that, you surrender to the present moment, meaning you live your life in your immediate environment. And this doesn't mean that you don't plan or you don't
mm,
everything you do has a clarity and a quality. When you're present and you do something, there's a quality that flows into it. And the world needs your quality in the things you do. And so for many people, for someone like myself, I call it the spiritual path
mm,
because for me, that's what it was. But there are people that they don't need any of that. They don't need to call it anything. They don't believe in any of it, but they still are just excellent examples of thriving, contributory, joyful people.
mm,
Because you can explain it any way you want, but the bottom line is they lean this way in regards to the voice they were choosing to follow. You know people like that. I mean, they're like, well, religion, I don't know,
mm,
spirituality, I
mm,
don't, it's all crazy science, I don't know, politics, I don't know. I just do this. And that's enough because you don't need anything else. You already have it.
mm.
You already have it, and nothing can take it away. Imagine that.
Uh, that's really clear. And I have a question. You talked about meditation, and you are a guitarist. And uh, is it uh, for a guitarist who wants to meditate? Can guitar practice become a form of meditation? I remember an article, an interview of yours when it was 20 years ago, maybe more. You talked about a meditative guitar and just playing one note again and again. Can you eventually
Well, I would
explain?
say many people do it. I'm sure you've done it, and it's part of the doing meditation.
Mhm.
So here's a kind of an example. Let's say you're a young person and you love the guitar and you want to discover your unique voice on it. And so that's a wonderful thing. I mean, we're all doing that in some way, based on your interest. For some people, it's not a guitar, it's a cooking, or it's a
Mhm.
business, or it's art, or it's something simple. It doesn't matter. But in the case of a musician, a young guitar player, which I have a good amount of experience dealing with, um, there's a couple of sides. There's two sides to the equation. There's the desire to want to play. There's the desire, the enthusiasm, which is these are all your guidance, your guideposts. These are your tools. Your enthusiasm is your most important tool in
Mhm.
creating anything. So they have that, and they can even have like visions of where they want to go. But then the voice of the ego comes in, and it says things like, "Well, how are you going to do this? You'll never be that good. You'll never be as good as that guy. And if you're not the best, then why?"
Mhm.
And it'll say things like, you're not going to fit in, and you're going to look like an idiot. You're not going to fit. You're going to fail at this, or you can fail, or you're just not good enough because you're not worthy.
Mhm.
That's a big one. People don't realize that how badly that holds them back from being them. And so you see that the impulse to express yourself beautifully and creatively is hampered by the ego. Or the ego can even say you're the best. It's nice to be king, and everybody else just sucks. They'll never be me. They'll never be you. So the ego will go any way that it can to fuck you up. You know. So the doing meditation recognizes these voices, these fictional voices of fear, and it just doesn't pay any attention to them.
Mhm.
But you can't pay attention to those voices when you're present. You understand? Because the act of becoming present means your attention is here now, and it's not in the past.
Mhm.
You're not, the past does not exist when you're present. Time doesn't even exist in the present moment. When you're engaged in something, in the doing meditation intensely, you know what it's like. It's like time doesn't exist. You're not thinking about it. It's
Mhm.
not it, and the doing meditation that I'm suggesting for musicians, young guitar players, forgives the future. It it's not projecting a fantasy into the future because a lot of the ego will tell you, okay, so by this point in your life, you need to be here. And if you're not there, you just suck, and if you're going there, you have to be making this much money at this point, and you have to have this kind of success, and then and you have to be the best. It tells you all these things, and then that you're not. That you're listening to the voice of the ego because as you go through the process of creating your music and practicing or reaching particular goals, you're complaining and you're fighting. You got to fight. This is such an insane premise. We have no idea how deeply insane the premise of you have to fight, what that actually means.
Mhm.
It's actually the opposite. You have to be committed, but fighting is unnecessary
Mhm.
because when you're committed in the approach to anything with the concept of a doing meditation, you have access to wisdom.
Mhm.
Okay, wisdom can only be in your on your radar when your mind is still. And I'm talking true wisdom, and it comes very simply. It's like, no, do this. It's like very obvious. Things are obvious.
Mm,
There's no like, well, that's real obvious, but let me tear it apart and figure
mm,
out what's
mm,
wrong with it and how it's going to screw me up and what if. But your instincts in the present moment work beautifully as they were made to, and they arise in you as simple impulses. You know what I'm talking about.
mm,
When you're there, you don't have to think about what to do. It's an instant recognition of the right move. Oh,
mm,
okay, this note. No, not that note, this note. Whatever it is, it's common. You have access to common sense. You have access to reason. So is it possible for you to see when you're obscuring this in the laboratory of your own mind?
mm,
You have to have presence. You have to have some presence to recognize this thought is bullshit. I don't need it. It's not serving me and it's not even true. But you see, fear does a funny thing. Fear threatens to remove any security you already have. And the funny thing is, fear cannot offer any true security. It only offers illusions of security. Illusions. The present moment is security itself. It's your only security is to
mm,
be present. It's your only security. All of your security exists in the present moment because you're not in fear. There is nothing to fear in the present moment. There's no past. Of course, you take things that you've learned and are using them
mm,
in your present state of doing meditation, but you're not making all this mental commentary about it that's sabotaging it. See, the problem with spirituality is it's too simple. It requires it requires you to get out of the way.
mm,
It requires all of your explanations of things to go away and for you
mm.
to just be and do.
I-
So
i-
that's
i- Is it a
so
kind of
practice.
letting go or letting the music or the
Yes.
playing happen?
Yes.
Mm,
That's it. That's it. It's the let it, the let what people say you got to let go. What does that mean? What it means is you have to recognize that what you believe it's not true. It's not necessarily true. Now, there's factual things, that you can say, oh, no, well, this is true. And I'm not saying you deny things that happened in the past. Your story about those things are not true. They're a perspective, they're opinions.
mm,
We don't know the meaning of anything from the past. That's just fact.
mm,
We don't. We don't. So abandon it and give your attention to the now. So the trick is to recognize when you're obscuring your creative flow.
mm,
And that's the and what that requires you to do is to stop for a moment and become the non-judgmental observer of your own thoughts. So this is good to do when you find yourself in any kind of discomfort,
mm,
emotional discomfort. If you just stop, okay, why do I feel this way? And if you can become the non-judgmental observer of your own thoughts, you'll say, oh, I was thinking about this painful thing, whatever it was.
mm,
I got a traffic ticket. Now I have to go to uh, go and pay all this money. Well, you do it speeding, and so you have to take care of things, but the all of the suffering is unnecessary. You got to take care of the ticket anyway. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
it, it-
I know.
that's a simple little example, but it's big example
Mm.
because it flows into everything in your life. Do you mean I have to get up now and go over to the bathroom and I have to lock the door? I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but people you'd be surprised at the stupid shit that you complain about in your head all day. That is the thing that's holding you back. So the first step basically in the waking up process, well, the first step is really the desire to want to wake up out of this madness in the head. And the second step is to recognize there's a voice in the head. And then you look at the voice and you see what it's actually saying. And only then, see, many people don't have access to recognize the voice in the head
Mm.
and to actually question it because they believe the voice in the head is them. They believe who they are is the self-talk. It's not,
Mm.
you know. So
Mm.
when you recognize this, only then can you start changing your own mental commentary about things.
Mm.
Until you can recognize that you're in control of your own beliefs, you'll continue to suffer in a cycle of repetitive thinking,
Mm.
repetitive negative thinking. So this is what the spiritual path has helped me to understand. And how has that helped me in my music? Well, whenever and this is just my thoughts about it, they don't
Mm.
mean anything. Whenever a person enters, there's this like sacred place that you go when you're in a creative flow that feels right to you. It feels meant for you. It feels good. You feel worthy of it. You have tools. There's understanding in it. For someone like myself, I can't explain it, but music was just always the interest. It was always it. It was very clear to me. And when I was growing up, all the kids around me that were maybe cooler and could play better or whatever, they it was interesting to me that simple musical concepts just completely eluded them. Like compositional things or just
Mm.
music theory. Because I was a very under average student. I didn't do good in English, in writing or history, failed history every time because history seemed insane to me. So I couldn't retain it. And I thought, why? Who wrote it? CNN or Fox? So I never believed history. So I
Yeah.
never really did good at it. But for some reason, music was just very clear. Why? I don't know.
Mm.
But I was so naive and innocent. I just followed that because, like I say, and for some people, something like the exploration of music is more like a hobby.
Mm.
Great. It's nice to have hobbies, but then there's something in their life that just feels natural and good to them, where it's almost like they can't understand why other people don't get it, you know? So when you find that and surrender to it without any excuses, there will be joy and quality in what you do.
Mm.
And that's what the world needs from you. Your developing of other hobbies and stuff will give you more tools. But for someone like me, there's always, and I didn't recognize this till many years later.
Mhm.
Uh, the things that I did musically that I liked the most, that moved me the most, as I was conceiving of them, they came from a particular place. and
mm,
they weren't the intellectualization in the mind.
mm,
They're just realizations of creative ideas. I call them downloads, and everybody gets them.
mm,
So I would get a download for something like I don't I would say something, talk about my last record, Teeth of the Hydra.
mhm,
You know, it's this crazy concept with this wild guitar. I've got these three necks and I'm playing the whole thing. You know, that was something that just came as a download. And I don't know why, but for someone like myself, it was very compelling,
mm,
intensely compelling. Like I want to do this. I'm doing this. I don't want to do it. I'm doing it. So that's what you're looking for. You don't give excuses for anything. So everybody knows this little space, right? Where you're connecting with enthusiastic
mm,
ideas. That's the spiritual dimension. To it, I mean, it's an aspect of the spiritual dimension. Those inspired ideas, they want to come through you. They put you're here for that.
mm,
But we're still trying to escape out of this egoic phase.
mm.
So I'm talking a lot.
No, but I have a question on the music itself for you. Is it a way to share these uh, concepts or these without concepts? So, with your art, uh, is it for you a way to
Okay.
communicate this
Anybody,
awakening?
yeah, anybody that enters this zone, this ultra zone, so to speak, where they're doing something and they're loving it, they're enjoying it. There's challenges, but the challenges are seen as opportunities. You welcome the challenges. You're enjoying the process. You're not projecting into the future to reach a goal.
Mm,
You're enjoying when you're doing that, sharing you can't separate yourself from sharing because you can't do anything without everybody else. You
mm,
know, like, okay, so I get a musical idea. Great. But I have to manifest it. So for me, I might need a guitar. Well, where did that guitar come from? You know where it came from? From somebody else that manifested their creative impulses, and every aspect of it was done that way. The people that made the knobs, the people that made the strings, the people that carved the wood, the people that deliver it, all of these people are necessary for me to exercise my creative idea.
mm,
So are they sharing?
mm,
Yeah, they can't not share. So that answers your question.
mm.
You don't have a choice.
That's like a natural love
It's
without
natural love.
intent.
It's natural love, and that's what you're here for. So, just to point out the contrary aspect, so people can get an understanding. When you have a creative impulse that arises in you as like a download, this is meant for you. It's built for you by the universe because, and it wants to come through you because it has your tools in it. It has your gifts, your understanding of certain things. And I might be talking about somebody that builds brick walls.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't matter. I could be talking about somebody that's taking tickets at the movie theater. There's an opportunity in that to share, to share goodwill, to share, every exchange you have with another human being is an opportunity for that. So
Mm,
conversely, so when you're following these impulses to your joy, you feel good, and what you do is valuable in the world. And when you reach the goal, that's nice, but you're looking forward to more.
Mm,
So conversely, when the ego says, okay, so for instance, in my case, I'll have a kid come up to me and he says, "My goal is to be the world's next leading rock guitar virtuoso,
mm.
like you know." And but they have a tin ear and they don't want to practice. So this is I would classify that as a fantasy.
Mm,
Okay, so if you're chasing a fantasy, you'll know you're doing that because it will not be a pleasant journey. You'll be kicking and screaming along the way. If you find yourself blaming anybody for anything, you're engaging in an egoic fantasy that will only lead to your own personal hell.
mm,
Okay? So because the journey along the way will be hard and you'll be fighting and you'll be stomping on people. And then when you finally get to the goal, if you even got to the goal, the egoic fantasy goal, guess what? It's never enough.
mm,
There's never enough for the fame for the ego.
mm. Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you think
like
Madonna's satisfied?
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
no,
like a
not that
hungry ghost.
it's
Uh,
never
yeah,
enough. And
yeah.
I say that I'm not speaking for Madonna. I'm not dissing her. I love Madonna. For the ego, it's just never enough. And you
Mm,
could have $100 billion, but if you're a miserable son of a bitch and you're not comfortable in your skin, fame and fortune only exacerbates that. I've
mm,
seen many times where people have had this fantasy goal of success and they've actually had a hit or they've reached it somehow and it destroyed them. It destroyed them because what happens is you get there and you're thinking, this is what it is. Because
mm,
you bring your miserable self with you and
mm,
it's not enough. And many people turn to drugs or they kill themselves out of the sheer um, depression that I have it all and I'm still empty.
mm. Yeah, I think of Kurt Cobain. He was and the band Nirvana. It was a kind of paradox because
Paradox.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I can't really. So when I listen to Kurt's music, I think that he was inspired,
Mm,
but it was going through a screen of victimhood. So as a result, it's powerful, it's inspired, but it can be a drag,
mm, yeah.
you know. So it the choice is always the individuals to decide what they love or what they believe they have to do.
Mm.
You know,
That, that, that,
what their fantasy dictates.
yes. You are just showing the way to see the ego at work because maybe the ego is hiding in in the back, so we can't see it sometimes. But with the tools you just shared to feel maybe the how it feels to follow the ego, it's really really clear. Thank you for that.
I'm just repeating things that I've learned from people
Hmm.
that are much more qualified.
Oh, I want to thank you again. You answered for to all my questions, and I didn't have to ask them. So thank you very much. It
Thank
was,
you. I get started sometimes, and thank
that's
you for letting me
wonderful.
ramble.
I it's wonderful for me. So really, really thank you. And I will try to put the video online maybe in 1 or 2 months because I have to do the subtitles in French. So I'm quite a slow worker, but I will try to do my best and I will send you the link. So if you want to share it or see it, maybe you can. Okay?
Thank you so much, Ludovic.
Thank
I
you
appreciate
and
the interview, and you're doing great stuff.
thank you very much. That's really and I won't say that you do great stuff because it's not you are I was a guitar teacher in another life, but in I was for beginners and I changed career, but I always watch your work as yes, more than music. It was art in very emotional and very um, touching. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I always felt that being a teacher was a great responsibility and a privilege, and especially teaching guitar to youngsters.
Mm,
That's a beautiful thing, man. God bless you.
mm. And have a good day, and maybe we can keep in touch. Bye.
Yeah, we'll talk again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye
bye
bye.
bye.